Well, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for watching. And in this episode, we visit Silver Springs State Park in Florida, where we explore James Bond, water, and dinosaurs. My wife Leanne and I decided to take a trip up to Silver Springs National Park in Ocala, Florida. This park is home to wild monkeys, crystal clear water, and some natural springs in the state of Florida. It also is home to many blockbuster Hollywood movies from the UK, James Bond, and TV shows as well. We went up there not expecting much, and upon first entry, when you walk through, there's not a lot to see except a dock and some buildings and a nice little lagoon. We decided to opt for the 30-minute glass bottom boat tour. All credit to my wife for making me spend the extra money to do that. So once we started the glass bottom boat tour, I'll give an abridged version, but essentially we saw about 6 or 7 natural springs. On an average day, they pump over 500 million gallons of water, all at the approximate temperature of 72 degrees, into the Silver River, which is about 5 miles long, the actual state park portion of it, which is home to these springs. So it's a fairly small distance. Their springs are different names. There's one with a about 500-year-old Native American canoe at the bottom of it, which was studied by students from the University of Florida in Gainesville, I believe. I could be wrong about that. And there's also one with what appears to be a dinosaur bone. Yeah, it wasn't a dinosaur. It was just some wood. So, oh well. But it sounded kind of cool. But the big one, the big spring, is called Mammoth Springs, and this is where the producers of the early James Bond movies apparently saw fit to travel all the way to the middle of nowhere, Florida, to film some fairly important, fairly non-important scenes for the Bond movies. The first one filmed there was Thunderball, and this was a big one. The final battle, once you see Bond and all of the Spectre agents, henchmen, and the other U.S. Marines fighting underwater. It all starts in the beginning in the Bahamas, but for the vast majority of the underwater battle was filmed in some of the springs at this state park. So while from my limited research, Sean Connery himself was never there, the vast majority of that battle was filmed underwater at Silver Springs. Apparently the Bond producers liked it because the next movie to be shot there was You Only Live Twice. In the beginning, you see Bond's death, and he is thrown over the edge of one of the British battleships in Hong Kong Harbor. This was all obviously filmed in Hong Kong until you see the underwater shots. I think it's about 35 seconds. They decided that they would actually fly an entire production crew all the way, once again, to the middle of nowhere, Florida. When I say middle of nowhere, it's middle of nowhere. They filmed about this 35-second scene in the Mammoth Spring, which is when you see Bond's body floating and the divers, or I shouldn't say floating, settling to the bottom, and the divers come and they pick him up and bring him to the submarine. That small scene was filmed there. Fast forward a few more years, and Never Say Never Again, while not considered part of the official Eon movies, still a Bond movie, was filmed there as well. Not exactly sure which scenes, but lots of the underwater ones towards the tail end were filmed at Silver Springs. The tour guide wasn't sure either with that one. I'm sure if you look it on the tracks of 007 or some of the other much more prestigious websites than my brain rattling off random facts, you'll be able to find more. And finally, Moonraker. They came once again to Silver Springs, and no, Roger Moore did not film there. But the part where he is fighting the snake in the jungle, all of that, underwater at least, was filmed at Silver Springs, a stuntman, not Sir Roger himself. So I don't believe Sir Roger was ever here. But once again, to this little tiny state park to get a few crucial seconds of film footage, they decided it was worthy to go all the way back to Silver Springs. So to my mind, short of London, Silver Springs seems to be one of the most reoccurring James Bond filming locations in the entire series. In an upcoming video, we'll explore another Florida location from Moonraker, which is the boat chase from Moonraker, which took place on the St. Lucie River in Jupiter, Florida, and in the surrounding area. So I'm hoping to be able to make that a video as well to see. But yeah, it was an interesting location. Lots of other films have been filmed there. The TV show I Spy with Bill Cosby, you can see some of the statues underwater. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, the original, was all filmed there. And yeah, plenty of others. You can look it up online and see an abundance of information. Some rather random facts is back in the 60s, a man was doing tours of the Silver River, and people were telling him it wasn't exciting enough, so he decided to buy some wild monkeys from Southeast Asia, and he let them all go onto an island. He came back a few days later not realizing that this variety of monkey likes to swim, so there are wild monkeys in the area, which you do see. I didn't, but you can see them around all over the state sometimes, apparently. So all in all, I would say it was a location from the Bond movies that is definitely worth a visit, and if you're not a Bond fan, it's worth a visit. I know this channel won't be solely revolving around James Bond, but it is a key component to it, and while there were no cars in this one, there were some sunken boats, not real dinosaurs, and there were some floating boats because I returned to land on one, so I stayed floating the entire time. Thank you to the websites like On the Tracks of 007 for being able to provide me with the information of where to find this stuff, and because otherwise I would have no clue where to look, so I'm appreciative to that, and I hope that you will join me in another video, hopefully exploring the canals of Jupiter, Florida, where they filmed a boat chase from Moonraker. Thanks so much.